and they were no longer concerned about this, and so we ended up back in the hole and back into deep debt. When I became governor, we had an $8 billion state deficit, and I went around the state and said that we needed to get that under control and we should not raise taxes to do it. There were probably 20 people in Ohio who felt that that could be achieved. What I can tell you is this: had we not had a state balanced budget requirement, I don't believe we would have balanced our budget. It forced us to abide by the law, and it forced us to make the decisions that needed to be made to get our budget balanced. And by the way, today we run a $1.4 billion surplus. Now, when you look at Congress, okay, we're now up almost 175,000 private sector jobs since we started this effort to balance our budget. When you look at Congress, I mean, I want to know how many of you think that Congress is going to balance its budget in the next 5 years. How many of you think Congress will not balance its budget in the next 5 years? Come on, raise your hands. Is there anybody here that thinks they will? Are there any existentialists here that might think that this can happen? You see, folks, what happens is the pressure on the Congress that is created by special interest groups without the requirement of a balanced budget allows a free-for-all in spending. That's what happens. You see, there are no borders. There is nothing to try to force them to be fiscally responsible. So everybody goes to Washington. And almost everybody who goes down there has their special interests. And so it's one special interest set off against another special interest. And what happens? People who practice common sense. And that's, those are just folks that live in Lima, where I grew up in McKees Rocks. It's common sense is you just can't keep spending more than what you take in. This is a value, an American value, isn't it? And we know that when we spend a lot more than what we take in year after year, bad things are going to happen. And that's exactly what's happening as we ring up the debt and as we have people in other countries own our debt. They have the power to be able to spend our dollars siphoned through, that's frankly put through them to invest in parts of the world to have influence. So folks, the Chinese have a lot more influence in places like Africa using our dollars to make loans to make people happy. I think America matters in the world. And because of our debt, it has profound implications for influence around the world and our young people. Should have had a bunch of these students here from Rhodes State. Should have been sitting right up in the front row. They're the ones that pay the biggest price of this, and our children. It's not right. So the bottom line is that if you pass an amendment that requires them to balance the budget, it sends a message not just to the Congress, but it sends a message to all the special interest groups that when they go to Washington, it's not a free party. They're going to have to work this out. You've got to create priorities. You have to balance things for the good of our country. Now, I waited a long time to get back into this. I felt we needed to do our budget, to get our act under control, to get ourselves in a stronger position. And then after the passage of the last budget, I said to the Speaker and to Keith Faber, let's do this. Let's get this done. Let's let Ohio be a leader again, because this whole initiative, it's not stalled. It's kind of dead in the country. There are 19 other states that have passed an amendment like this. We are the 20th. And I'm delighted to hear that Matt Huffman's going to be with a number of the legislators. I intend to talk to all the governors in this state, in this country, not just the Republicans, but all the governors, to say, isn't it time that we put our children first? Isn't it time that we straighten out this economy? And isn't it time we start to govern with common sense? And we'll see